So on this video, we are going to be walking through how to set up specifically a volleyball graphic broadcast. What graphics you should use, specific little mechanisms within Production Truck of how you're going to be running the score bug, and a few other graphics that we would like you to use during a volleyball broadcast. So again, go back and check out our previous videos. We have one on the physical setup of the camera and settings you should be doing for that. We have kind of a basics getting started to make sure you have your audio and your video set up just generically for any broadcast. So watch those first, and then if you're doing a volleyball game, these are kind of a few tips for running the graphics specifically for a volleyball game. It is a little bit different for every sport, and then kind of some of our aesthetic choices that we would like you to make in terms of things to do on the volleyball broadcast. So again, reference some of those previous videos. We also will have a tutorial video as well too up on how to run ads for any broadcast. So this we're going to cover specific to volleyball. So I don't have, at the time of this recording, set up the video or audio pulling like you would, but as discussed in previous videos, this preview pane up in the top right corner, don't worry about any of the graphics until you make sure you're pulling video, and then you make sure you have audio pulling in this main audio levels over here in the bottom right corner. So with volleyball, like everything else, we're going to start with this plus button where you are going to pull whatever graphics you like for that particular game that night. As we've discussed in some of the other tutorial videos for other sports, when you can look and open if it's a graphic you have already downloaded specifically on that computer. If you're looking for something new that you maybe haven't used before, it would be in this download tab up here at the top right. Now, because I have selected a volleyball broadcast with these sandwich selections. For this example, I'm picking Shakopee High School. I have this volleyball game versus Chanhassen, the second game of the year we're going to do up here. It's kind of trying to guess that I might want volleyball graphics. So first two things I always do is I go to any section because there's a couple that I want to pull from here. The generic ones we use for every broadcast is this image overlay queue. I'm going to select that and open that. Another one that I use that is just an any section one is I use one called the game intro flat design. So I'm going to select that one and open it as well too. Again, it's under the open tab because I've used both of those graphics before. If for some reason you're not finding that by searching for game intro, check under the download queue, and you'll find a bunch of other game intros that are specific to different sports. I like this generic one that is called the flat design. So we'll take those two out. Then we'll start looking for volleyball-specific graphics. This one, I don't have any that I've used before, so I'm going to go to... Oh, well, that's because I'm looking for game intro. So here we go. So I'm going in the Open tab. We're going to want the control panel, and we are going to want the volleyball scoreboard. We recommend and ask that you use this one, the volleyball scoreboard Gotham, just for consistency on the network. Pick this one. I already have it open, so I'm not actually going to click it here, but that's the one I have already opened. Breakboard flat design I will use on occasion, and if I have time, I'll throw up the starting lineup graphic before the game starts, so I'll open that as well too to show you that. So, again, I have opened 6 here. This is what I typically use for a volleyball broadcast. I'm going to show you everything so you have the tools. The 3 you need. Boom. I'm going to put these 3 in the stack, moving them around here, the tabs. Control panel, number 1. Volleyball scoreboard, number 2. And the third is the image overlay queue. These other 3 optional ones, as you get more comfortable, I recommend you use them. It looks a little nicer. These are the 3 that you need right here. So, our control panel, again, this is not an actual graphic itself. If you notice and you try to drag it over into the preview field here, nothing happens. I'll X that out. This is the actual score bug itself, the one that is the volleyball scoreboard. You can set it up depending on how your camera guy is set up. I typically like to move it in the lower left. You can see you can change it from the settings down here. Look at your live read sheet for the game. For a lot of our schools, 4 of the 6, we have a sponsor this year, Vile and Wild Orthodontics, so they will be the Vile and Wild scoreboard, if that applies, if you're doing one of the games of one of our schools there. Other than that, you can't really change any of the settings for the scoreboard with the actual scoreboard, you go to the control panel to set some of that. So next, to set up the rest of our scorebug, we're going to go to the control panel. We're going to set the home and away. I'm going to pretend like I'm setting it up for my Chanhassen game tonight, so I will make Chanhassen the visiting team. You don't need to fill out all of this. Different graphics pull some of this information. The three you want to focus on is the name. You don't really have to worry about the location as much. The mascot you want to put, that will pull in a couple places. The team abbreviation, and then set the color of the team. So I like to set the color of the team, what jersey they're actually wearing when I get there. And then for the sake of the graphic, also hit select file. This will be how you add a logo to the scorebug. So we will have a folder on the desktop of whatever computer you're using with at least logos of other South Suburban Conference teams. If you want to download one for a team outside of that, you can just Google search it, get a PNG file, preferable without a background, with a clear background, are the ones that work best. So for the sake of this example, I do have, I have a team logos folder here. I've got Chanhassen in here somewhere. Here we go. Chanhassen Storm, we'll throw that in there. You can see that showing up. This is the preview pane again. When you hit overlay, it actually pushes it out to what is on your broadcast. So you can see we got Chanhassen all set up. Other side is going to be exactly the same type of setup. We will do the Sabres here. This is how you set what actually shows up on the scoreboard, the team abbreviation. Sabres are red. We can throw in as well a logo for Shakopee as part of this. So anyway, we're not going to do it for that one, but you would go select file and throw the logo in there as well too. If you want to do a starting lineup, that's where this starting lineup graphic pulls from your control panel. You can click on the tab for each team, go in here, set your starters. That's if you have time. Don't worry about it if you don't, but this is how you would do that. So you can see when I throw the starting lineup graphic up here, nothing's appearing. If I start typing in here, Joe Schmo, it appears. You can set a position, their class, etc. So that's how you run the starting lineup graphic if you like. So main thing, put the team names in there, set it. Running the control panel, running the scoreboard with the control panel is fairly self-explanatory. You can update the score here. That is for the set or particular game you're in. When the team, gets to 25, you use this drop down to advance it to set number 2, and you'll see that it in fact saves the score of that first set. Once you just advance it to set number 2, it also automatically updates the match score for you. Once you advance with this drop down to the next set, it will update it. So you can now see the match score is appearing at the bottom here. We have Chanhassen up 1-0 in the match. You can start doing the score for the second set. That's how that works. There is an option for timeouts. You can keep track of that if you like. That's pretty much how you run the control panel. That is pretty much it. We'll get to the image overlay and mention that. We have covered this in other videos specific to each of the other fall sports, but I'll run through it here again in case this is the first one you're watching. So what you do is you go to the image overlay, you hit this plus signal and select choose file. So from here, we'll have a folder on your desktop which will have the graphics specific to whatever school you need to find them from that day. I think I have some of my graphics here we'll just use a couple random other graphics I have on here, but this is kind of like a full screen image. I think I have another one here. When you select it, you scroll down and hit apply. Make sure you're doing that. You add all the graphics you want to use one at a time. So we'll kind of show you a couple different ones up here so you can see how that works. Here we go. I got some of the broadcast graphics in here. We'll throw one up for Shakopee. Here's a sponsor one we have. One thing I also ask you to do, line up the image overlay with whatever score bug you're using to kind of make it look the best as possible. So you'll see how it kind of clunkily sets it up in the middle. That actually looks pretty nice. With these lower third graphics, which are a lot of the ones you're going to be using, I like to go into this position settings in the image overlay, and you can just tinker around with moving it up and down. I like to line up this lower third graphic to kind of be on the same plane as the scoreboard. Hit apply, and then it does that for all the graphics, so it'll be just moved down a little bit. That way, if your live read's going a little long, people won't be missing the game action. Your graphic won't be blocking things in the way of most of the action. So you can see how that works. In the image overlay at live, you can kind of simultaneously flip between two different pictures. You can throw in as many here as you can. As long as you're using the image overlay, make sure you're picking the cue specifically for that. So that's the image overlay cue. Last one really to cover in here, the game intro. Just use this at the top of the broadcast before the score bug, just when you're welcoming in folks. It just looks nice. Ask that you use that. And the breakboard is just another one in your toolbox if you want to throw it in there. When you come back after an ad break, you can throw this up. It'll update people on what each of the set scores have been in the past. Match score over here. You can add, kind of a scene setter. If this game's at Shakopee High School, I'll type that up here. This is just another little element you can add for some variety and for the aesthetics of the broadcast to throw in as well, too. So these are the ones I use for volleyball broadcast. Again, these first three tabs, the ones you should focus on and that we ask you use every broadcast. Those are some of my recommendations and tips for setting up your graphics for a volleyball game.